Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on The Big Story. We're looking at the state of government, the state of Kenyan government, and we're having this conversation with Maimuna Mwidau, who's a political analyst. She's joining us from Mombasa. Allow me now to bring in Herman Manyora, who's a political strategist. He's speaking to us by way of phone. Sir, good evening. Thank you for speaking to us on The Big Story today. So I was having this conversation earlier on, sir, with someone about the state of the Kenyan government. And the person said, you shouldn't even be having a conversation about the state of Kenyan government. Let's talk about the state of governance in Kenya, because the very software that is needed to run Kenya and run it effectively is missing. So if you were to gauge the state of the Kenyan government, stroke governance, what would that be?
I would say we are in a terrible state. In a state where it's not clear yet what is going on. Many people are beginning to wonder whether here we have a captain. That's not a good state to be in. So we were thinking this to present the president with an opportunity to show he's still in charge and that things are okay. Now just started bringing Yakure and Uturia. Ukuria. It is just a joke. It makes a bad situation worse.
Someone to sit in that position.
Pardon?
I'm asking why, because, I mean, that's a very sensitive docket by all means. He couldn't just leave it hanging like that. He had to get someone, even if it's on an acting capacity, as he puts his act together.
Precisely because of that, precisely because it's a very sensitive and serious position in government, I think it's an executive position. He's an executive minister, the guy in charge of treasury. His signature is critical and crucial in many areas, many assignments. One would have thought, one, you will put an acting minister who Kenyans can view as serious. This guy is a good guy, but it stops there, just being good. Small issues in labor, he has not been able to solve. How does he then get to prison? And number two, because nobody expects Rotich to come back. First, it will take ages for the case to go through, as usual, and then this is the first special one. Secondly, with a name that is that thing, you wouldn't expect him to come back, even if the coast clear. So for that reason, the president would have done two things. One, appoint a serious acting GS, and number two, nominate a replacement immediately, and ask the Speaker of the National Assembly to speedily process that nomination, the rating of that. The president hasn't done that. That was the least he would have done. Yeah, that's what I mean, it's a joke. That's what I say that.
Okay, I hear you. You're saying, yes, he needed someone, but perhaps Ukur Yatani may not have been the best choice because of how he has handled certain issues that have touched his own ministry. So you think there should have been a better person to even be put there in an acting capacity within the cabinet?
Yes, while at the same time forwarding a nominee for substantive appointment to Treasury. Kenya is facing serious financial problems. We have serious problems that the Treasury must deal with, because any time from now, in fact, if we are elected before, we could sink the ship. So you cannot play with that topic by, putting someone like Ukuri attack. I find it quite, to me, that's a concept card of the president to Kenyans.
Okay, I hear you. So perhaps he had his own reasons why he chose Ukur Yatani, being a member of the cabinet, and of course that is the only place where he could pick one person to act, be in an acting capacity in the Ministry of Treasury as he tries to fix his house or put it in order. Let's see whether or not he will nominate someone who will have to go through the vetting process again. But Herman, stay with me on phone. Let me now bring in Maimuna Mwidau. Maimuna, away from the corruption allegations facing Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich, the replacement that Herman Manyora does not agree with, let me look at, now that looking at state of government, it's interesting that you have a government that has a deputy president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, with assassination allegations against him that apparently are being plotted by 3 cabinet secretaries. When you sit down and you listen to this in a government that's supposed to be functional, I mean, I did mention the constitution is very clear. The presidency is the president, the deputy president, and the cabinet secretary. So when you have 3 cabinet secretaries really going to the DCI to record statements over an assassination claim over the number 2 most powerful person in the Republic of Kenya, what does that say about the state of this country?
Linda, first and foremost, that's very troubling. And as we will not get into the nitty-gritty of whether it's true or not.
Yes, we will
but
not, because
already
even
it becomes a problem within cabinet.
Go on.
When you have several members who have been accused by one of the most senior leaders, I think sitting in cabinet will be a little bit uneasy for both sides. And that brings a problem for normal work to continue.
It's symptomatic of probably how the government is being run. These are individuals who sit in cabinet together. These are individuals who are running this country. These are individuals who've been entrusted with running this republic. So when you have mistrust within cabinet, then there's a problem.
There is a major problem. And unless this problem is sorted out, and I wish it was sorted out a bit earlier, but given the seriousness of the issue, there is definitely going to be a conflict within cabinet itself. And now it's up to the president and his deputy to try to steer the country in the right direction, because no cabinet can function well with such serious allegations against certain individuals within the policy-making body. In my estimation, I think there's a need for the president to really come out and make a decision as to what is going to happen. I know investigations are going on, other issues are continuing, but there's still a lot of bad blood, and I don't see it going away very soon for the next couple of years until 2022. And probably it will play itself out much sooner than later. Given the fact that now the Rotich issue has come up. Daggers are out. You can hear the politicians taking tribal positions on an issue that is very serious. Similarly, those ones who have been accused will definitely also take an ethnic position with regards to the allegations made against them. So I think we are in a serious crisis as far as I'm concerned at the moment, and there's a need for the leadership to take charge and make sure that this does not explode anytime soon.
Herman Manyora, Deputy President has been unwilling to have a conversation about whether or not his life is in danger and the allegations that are leveled against the 3 CS. As a matter of fact, Dennis Itumbi, an individual who works in his office, was arraigned in court over the same. What does that tell you about the kitchen cabinet of President Uhuru Kenyatta?
First of all, Linda, it's not always the practice. It's not even decent for a deputy president to engage the nation on matters of alleged assassination. These are things Linda and Manyora would do. But when it comes somebody as high as the deputy president, these are things he's supposed to discuss with the president and maybe at a very high level security organs. At a very, very top. He cannot prosecute an issue like that in public. Remember, Linda, the late Professor Saitoti was poisoned at some place. We never quite got to know it, apart from the rumors. He only ended up later, many years later, talking about people having poisoned him. So because you see, it can create what the Swahili will call taharuki. You know, you can create panic in the country.
Tension.
Yeah, tension in the country. This is a tribally charged country. You can get communities engaging each other in a manner that's not so good. So I think the president is doing the right thing, even if there were threats against him, even if he has serious information. It is best he does it the way he's doing it, by leaving it at the level of the top security organs and the president.
Okay.
He cannot prosecute in the public, yeah.
That's fine, Herman, but the fact that 3 CSs went to record statements at the DCI. These are individuals supposed to work together in the first place. I mean, really, Manyora, this speaks of mistrust. This speaks of a lot within that cabinet. And at times, one sits and wonders how the president is supposed to deal with all this.
Linda, these are the things we've been talking about. The kind of suckers we are being treated from very high levels in government. We were thinking, and I think I was trying to make this point, we were thinking that this arrest and arraignment in courts would have given the president an opportunity to reorganize his government. Because, honestly speaking, even the most ordinary Kenyan is just surprised. He's wondering what's going on. And people are wondering, where is the president? Is he in charge? And I was thinking, this was an opportunity presented to him to ask cabinet secretaries to resign. Look here, Linda, even as we talk about Ukuru Yatan, other than Matiang'i in that cabinet, Matiang'i is going to be overworked. He can't be given the treasure. That's the very, so who even is in that cabinet? The president could take the treasure and we say there's somebody on an acting capacity because you can't even know how long. He himself acted for a long time. Michuki acted for a long time. It takes time to process new appointments. So getting even a replacement from the current cabinet is such a difficult task for the president and for Kenyans. So what am I saying? I am saying this was an opportunity for the president to give hope to the country and to show that he's in charge by asking cabinet secretaries to resign and then he will reconstitute his government. But since he has refused, well, that is his side. We only left to wonder.
But by all means, Manyora, I mean, this happened yesterday. The CS was presented in court yesterday. Perhaps he's just buying a little bit of time.
Linda.
No, I'm just trying to think from his point. You're the president. This has just happened. So one, you need someone within your cabinet to just hold on in an acting capacity as you source for someone else who will have to go through the entire vetting and then now appoint that person.
Linda, just happened. When did Rotich go to DCI for 3 days? After one of those or two of the days, it was from morning to night. You are reading 9 o'clock news when the guy was still at DCI. That's like 3 or so months ago. You mean the president wasn't aware of this? The president is on top of things. The president you cannot prosecute a cabinet secretary without
the knowledge of the president. Yes,
it's going to happen. So it can't be that he knew yesterday, Linda, surely. The president must have seen this coming. Therefore, he must have looked at a replacement, and he must have known before that replacement is vetted by Parliament, I will have a Kenyan in that office who can give Kenyans some little hope that at least we have somebody who could be better than British.
Okay, so basically you're saying the president has missed a golden opportunity to revive that hope for Kenyans.
He may not get another one.
Maimuna, if you can hear me, there are those who thought that perhaps with that handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, there was going to be calm in the Republic of Kenya. However, as Herman Manyora puts it, anyone looking at what's happening currently in the government will sit back and ask, what is going on in this country? I mean, when you look at that handshake and where the country finds itself now, what comes to your mind?
Very interesting. I don't understand why everybody needs to look at the handshake and feel that the handshake will run the country. The handshake basically was just to bring some sanity and some peace in the country so that other issues can continue. So I won't use the handshake as an opportunity to be able to run the country smoothly. That is the responsibility of those who have been elected and appointed to various positions under the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. But what has happened after the handshake is that we did definitely get some semblance of peace among the two major contenders, but it also disorganized some of those in office. For instance, we have seen for a very long period of time that the deputy president was definitely disorganized. He has been on and on against Honorable Raila Odinga for coming into the fold. So when we are expecting that things would happen in government, that was, I think, too much to ask. Basically, it disorganized the emotions of some people, and they were looking at that handshake as a disruption for their plans in 2022, or maybe for their normal duties, because the relevance now is more into those two who had a handshake rather than those ones who are holding office. Why would we actually expect Honorable Raila to make changes in government? He doesn't hold any office. He cannot make any decisions in terms of
Maimuna, let me tell you, there are those who say by his activities and what has been going on is basically, quote unquote, the de facto deputy president because of the power that he wields.
We Kenyans are very creative. We are
very creative, yeah.
But the law is very clear. Yeah, the law is very clear. The deputy president has a position, has an office, and has his work cut out for him. But he feels uncomfortable because there's a third party here who's played a very important role, no doubt about it. But he doesn't run the government. He doesn't have an office where there are functions that he does. But he did help to get some sanity into the political environment. So the handshake has done its work. And those who have given the office to run the government should continue running the government and do the right thing. So let's not blame the handshake. Let's be glad the handshake did what it did and continue working.
And if you can hear me, do I still have Herman Manyora online?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, Herman, listen. So just before I spoke to Maimuna, you actually said anyone looking at what's happening in the country would be shocked and ask a lot of questions. And it's not just at the executive level, it's at the legislative level as well. So you have senators and governors and members of parliament at a crossroad. So you have cabinet secretaries having issues, you have governors, senators, members of parliament agreeing on how to run their affairs. And it basically leaves every single Kenyan, because we all come from the 47 counties in the Republic of Kenya. And everyone perhaps looking at it is asking, at what point did the rain start beating us as a country? I mean, you have said governors now going to court, you have senators going to court, you have members of parliament refusing to agree.
Everything. A friend of mine said Kenya is one madhouse. We are just a country of lunatics. Nothing makes sense. I think when a government is facing legitimate issues, such as this government was facing before the handshake, lots of things get out of control. First of all, you remember the executive was controlling parliament, summoning MPs to do even simple things like putting in place committee chairmen and so on and so forth. When you have the executive destroying the legislature because of party politics, then things begin to go wrong. Because at times like this, you would have relied on our parliament to put its foot down and even tell the president, we cannot have a government being run in this manner. Okay? They would even have censured people like Rotich long time ago, and they would have left cabinet. But we don't have the legislature. Look at the wars between Senate and National Assembly. Everything is childish. When you hear people dancing and going to court, marching to court, and they are fighting over 10 or so billion in a budget that is of 3 trillion, what exactly are we talking about? Instead of the senators trying to find out the mess that is with the 2.7 trillion that the national government has, they are giving us drama over 10 billion. You see what I'm talking about? Even common things are taken to the Supreme Court for interpretation. The interpretation that comes from the Supreme Court, when they gave that very, 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 I don't know what English to use. I don't want to be seen to be talking badly about the Supreme Court. Look about the revenue bill, whether the National Assembly and the Senate can do. Look at the fact now, Senate originating a bill on revenue allocation because of the mess the Supreme Court put the country in when they gave a wrong advice. So
we're not in a good place.
We are not in a good place.
All right. Okay.
I think those who pray should pray for this country.
There are lots of people praying, Herman, trust me.
We are on autopilot in every conceivable place.
Wrap up, Herman. I need to wrap up, but
if you look at the kind of shenanigans Senate is involved in.
To wrap up, Herman, I honestly need to wrap up. But yes, I hear you that the people who are praying perhaps need to start saying a prayer for the Republic of Kenya. Big thank you to Sophia Wanuna, our lead reporter. Maimuna Mwidau, political analyst who has been speaking to us from Mombasa. Herman Manyora as well, a political strategist who has been speaking to me on phone. Thank you so much for being part of the big story. As I wrap this show up, I want to run a clip of a little girl who asked the president something that will perhaps determine what the next 3 years will be for the president when his tenure ends. Listen.
By 2022, what do you think is going to be something that you're going to say, this is what Uhuru did and we'll never forget?
Wow.